This is Pet Life Radio. Let's talk pets.
Hello, pet lovers, and welcome to Best Bets for Pets. I'm your show host, Michelle Fern. You know, there's so many different types of cat litter out there, but I really love when there's cat litter that's not only good for my cats, but it's good for the earth. And our product today that we're going to talk about does just that. So stay tuned. We're going to talk all about it. We'll be right back. Hey guys, Michelle Fern here. I want to tell you about Carlson Pet Products. They're a family-owned, budget-conscious company specializing in creating pet safety products to keep your pet happily protected from puppy through senior years. They have some great products: pet pans, folded elevated beds, crates, and pet gates. Their pet gates fit any size opening in your home. Most gates have a walk-through door for humans and a small door for your pet to go through. I've had a Carlson pet gate in my home for years and absolutely love it. And best of all, you're going to get 25% off and free shipping. Just visit carlsonpetproducts.com. And again, you'll get 25% off your order plus free shipping with the promo code PETLIFE.
Let's Talk Pets on PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. I'd like to introduce Pedro Bastos. He is the CEO of PetFive, who is the parent company of Sustainably Yours. And Sustainably Yours is a newer cat litter. But guess who the spokesperson is? Jackson Galaxy, the cat daddy himself. And if you know about Jackson Galaxy, you know he never endorses any product he doesn't truly believe in. That is just a rule with him. And so Sustainably Yours must be an amazing cat litter. And Pedro is going to tell us all about it. Welcome, Pedro.
Thank you, Michelle. It's a pleasure being here.
It's wonderful to have you. Okay, I have to ask the question that is on probably most of my listeners' minds. What makes Sustainably Yours different? Because there's so, and I'm sure you've answered this question so many times, there's so many cat litters out there. And it's, you know, it can be overwhelming for the new cat pet parent, even a cat pet parent that's been, you know, buying litter for ages. And so what makes it different?
Absolutely. And you're so right in stating that it's overwhelming. And imagine for the cat that's, you know, being put through constant changes. It's not ideal. So when we pick a new litter, we want to be sure that it's going to work. So Sustainably Yours is unique. If I were to summarize it, I would say that it is an all natural litter, meaning it's made from renewable ingredients, but it actually works. So it was really the reason for us for creating this litter, investing in research and development and coming up with what we have today was the fact that we hadn't found a litter that was sustainable, but that also did what a litter should do, which is number 1, 2, and 3 on the list of pretty much every cat parent: eliminate odor, clump really well for easy, convenient cleaning, and have no dust. So that's what we set out to create, and ultimately that we did. And we're so happy, as you mentioned, thanks for that intro, to have Jackson Galaxy on board, along with several of his cats, all of his cats using the litter today.
I have a question for you. You know, we use this word so much, and you know, I know what it is in compared to in other types of things, but what is sustainable when you talk about cat litter? How does that relate to cat litter?
Sure, absolutely. There are a few ways that you can look at it, but from a very simplistic standpoint, we like to think of what has been traditionally used today, primarily mineral-based cat litters in the form of clay, silica, all of them coming from mining type of activities that are extremely aggravating, from carbon emissions to just the fact that you're digging a hole to later use it in a litter box and take it to a landfill where it will not biodegrade. So when we think about sustainability, we think about the full circle and the really infinity of that circle being used from 100% plant-based renewable ingredients and having those go to landfills or wherever they may go. It could be composted, ultimately biodegrading and providing the soil with the nutrients that it needs to stay healthy. So it's that circularity when we think about in the US, 95 million plus cats using on a monthly basis, quite a large amount of mineral litters that really alarms us and was another reason for us in creating this litter.
Okay, well, thanks for explaining that. And let's talk about some of the ingredients, because the main ingredients are corn and cassava, which I don't know what that is. So maybe you can tell us what that is. And then I have another question for you, but let's first, what is that, cassava?
Sure. And that's certainly part of the uniqueness that the litter offers. It is this unique substrate that is cassava. It's also known as, and perhaps a little less unique as it's more popularly known as tapioca. So there might be tapioca pudding or bubble tea. You can find tapioca in it. It's a root predominantly grown in the Southern Hemisphere. It's actually widely eaten on a weekly basis by over 1 billion people across the globe. So it's very, and when we go back to sustainability, it's actually a very effective crop in the sense that it uses very low levels of water. So it requires not much water to grow. It's very quick in growing. So it's replenished on the same amount of land. And what's great, going back to litter, is that like corn, we use the starch component of both corn and cassava. They're very, very highly absorbent, which of course leads to that clumping. And it's also a natural binding agent, which also helps in clumping and really getting tight clumps that lock in order and that are easy to scoop out with getting that breakage that just kind of floats around in the box.
Okay. And that's great explanation. I think this can be so helpful to the pet parent. And so I'm going to be asking some of those questions that I'm sure they're thinking. So here we go with another one. There's other litters that are made with corn. I don't think they have cassava, but they're made with corn. So what would you say is the distinctive difference between your litter and the litters that are just corn-based?
Sure. So the other litters that are corn-based out there end up using a larger portion of the corn. So that includes the kernel, the entire kernel itself, and then oftentimes the cob. And those serve as ultimately just fillers. They're not absorbent and they don't act as binding agents. So at the end of the day, you're getting a larger portion of the corn that's essentially processed and put into a litter box, but with a large portion of what is ultimately in the litter box not serving the purpose of what a litter should do. So we purposefully process human grade starches with no added chemicals, which also makes it extremely safe if ingested by the cat, different from other litters that might have obviously added chemicals. And that starch, by using that component, that micro component within the kernel, is what allows it to be extremely effective in clumping. And also, I'd mention, is what gives it its natural light color. So a lot of the corn litters that are out there, they're a little bit darker, right? It's like a light brown, sometimes darker brown. Starch is naturally white. So that lends to our litter having that unique visual aspect as well, which has two main added benefits. One, it looks clean, nice and pretty in your litter box. You know it's clean after you've removed everything. And two, it also allows for and helps in tracking potential health issues. It could be the presence of small specks of blood in the litter and so forth.
That makes a lot of sense, and it definitely explains the difference because, like I said, there's so many out there, and so asking these questions really helps the pet parent. All right, we're going to take a short break, and we're going to be right back.
Take a bite out of your competition. Advertise your business with an ad in PetLife Radio podcasts and radio shows. There is no other pet-related media that is as large and reaches more pet parents and pet lovers than PetLife Radio. With over 7 million monthly listeners, PetLife Radio podcasts are available on all major podcast platforms, and our live radio stream goes out to over 250 million subscribers on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, TuneIn, Stitcher, and other streaming apps. For more information on how you can advertise on the #1 pet podcast and radio network, visit PetLifeRadio.com/advertise today.
Let's talk pets
Let's talk pets
on Pet Life Radio.
Pet Life Radio.
PetLifeRadio.com.
Welcome back, everyone. We're talking with Pedro Bastos, and we're talking about his new Sustainably Yours cat litter. So I have many more questions, but you have large and small grains in the litter. Is there a preference? Do cats really notice the difference? Or is it from stepping on it? We know they're picky. We just know cats are finicky, so maybe that's it.
Yeah, there is certainly a difference in the size that can be noted visually. So if anyone were to put both of the litters in front of you, you'd easily be able to pick out what is our Multi-Cat Plus version, the finest granularity that we like to compare to sand. That's really the density and size of it. And then the new large grain version that we launched several months ago now, that is ultimately, I'd say, the size of maybe couscous. That's probably the best comparison. We, from the onset, set out to create this litter from a size and granule shape, also important, that would ultimately give the cat the most enjoyable experience. We really did develop this litter not only from the pet parent's standpoint, thinking through those attributes that I mentioned, but also the safety and comfort of the cat. And one of the things that practically every single vet out there said and explained to us early on several years ago was that a cat's paws are extremely sensitive, and grains, whether they're large, more importantly, pointy with kind of sharp edges, can really aggravate the cat. It can hurt them, can lead to other issues. It could ultimately really be one of the issues, one of the reasons why your cat is avoiding the litter box altogether. So in creating the large grains, we wanted to offer the consumer, the cat parent, a solution for those parents that have cats with long hair. So the long hair cats, we found that with the finer granularity, that like sand, ultimately it was sticking a little bit to the longer fur. With the slightly larger granule, but still a rounded granule, we found that it works better with longer haired cats, reduces tracking overall, while still being small enough and round enough to provide that comfort that we sought early on since the beginning, really, to provide the cat with.
That makes a lot of sense because Dennis is a long-haired cat. He's a part Maine Coon. And yes, I do find litter sometimes sticking to him. So definitely it's a real problem and it happens a lot. Okay, so is Sustainably Yours basically for multi-cat households? Or do you have a single cat household one as well? Or just the multi-cat household covers all?
Covers all. That's a really good way to put it. And so 3 variations: the multi-cat variation, the multi-cat plus variation, and the multi-cat large grains variation. I mentioned the plus being the finer granularity. The large grains also talked a bit about that. The multi-cat is a split mix of the two. So if you're looking for a good balance between very fast clumping, which the finer granules help with, and low tracking, you'd go for that middle version. That being said, they all start with multi-cat in the name, and that's because they can all serve as multi-cat solutions. But that certainly doesn't mean that if you have a single cat household, that this wouldn't be a perfect solution for you. Either any of the 3 would certainly work for any single household.
That's good to know. And plus, most cat households have 2 or more.
Yes. Cats are social beings. You know, they get hated on sometimes as antisocial. That's not true. They like having us around, and they like having their cat buddies around as well.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, now this has been something I've talked about over and over, but is there a special way perhaps to transition your cat from whatever litter you're using now to Sustainably Yours?
Absolutely. And this really works with every litter. And it goes back to cats being a bit finicky and not liking certain transitions. So you want to make sure that it is a gradual transition. So we would recommend that on day 1, you would put approximately 1/3 of Sustainably Yours into the litter box with whatever substrate that you're currently using. Mix it around a little bit with a litter scoop, not with your hand. Let that work for maybe 2-3 days while you're going through your daily routine of scooping. And then on the 3rd day, add another 1/3 worth of litter, mix it again. And then right around the 7th or 8th day, you would have fully transitioned. You can swap out the box or empty the box and put in Sustainably Yours entirely. So that transition should be gradual. Now, that being said, most, I would go out on a limb saying parents don't necessarily read the instructions that are on the bag, and they go straight to putting Sustainably Yours into a new litter box entirely right next to the existing solution, or just swapping out what they're using. And cats take to it immediately. We have very few instances of cats not going to it. And I would say for two main reasons. One, it's scent free, it's unscented. One of the main reasons, amongst several others, but that Jackson Galaxy really talks highly about Sustainably Yours. Cats have they have a strong sense of smell, dozens of times stronger than ours. So you can imagine what it is to be a cat walking to a litter box with a bunch of artificial smells. So the fact that it's unscented, they take to it right away. And then the softness on the paws also allows them to have that enjoyable experience. So I would just, of course, urge cat parents to give it a try, and especially on the clumping side, seeing it is believing it. It really is shocking how well it clumps, how firm it clumps, even better than clay. So it is something that a lot of brands claim, but we really live up to it. And there are videos of Jackson Galaxy out there making clumps, throwing them around and so forth. So I would really urge people to go visit our website.
Speaking about clumps, the clumping, it will dissolve in 15 minutes, enough to go ahead and flush.
Yes,
it will. That is because a lot of people, live in high rises. It's not so easy to just, do the litter, put it down and, into a trash and so forth. It's just more difficult. But is that safe for all pipes? How easy is it? I know in California, it's not allowed at all.
Yes. And I was going to caveat that as well. And it's not allowed for a good reason, frankly. And when we think about sustainability at Sustainably Yours, it does go beyond the litter box. We think through, of course, what we're using for packaging, what power, renewable, now 100% renewable at our manufacturing plant. And the reason California doesn't allow that is toxoplasmosis can be harmful to pregnant women, humans, as it can be harmful to mammals. So ultimately, flushing down feces or litter that has been in contact with feces and might have that bacteria present could go through the water system and reach ultimately mammals, seals, whatever they may be. So we would urge before flushing to have some understanding of ultimately where your sewage system ends up. Not all systems end up in rivers or the ocean, right? They're treated in different ways. If you do deem that it can be flushed and safely, you're absolutely right. The litter does clump extremely well, but then upon coming in contact with water, after 15, 20 minutes max, it will slowly reabsorb water and ultimately just crumble and break up. The only ask that we would have is that for the health and comfort of your cat, you're cleaning your litter box at least once a day, preferably 2 times a day. And when you're flushing down the toilet, you're not letting 6-7 clumps accumulate and throwing them all at once and waiting 15 minutes and try to flush that down. We've had cases and there are no miracles being worked there. It's just too much matter to go down into the pipes, but it's perfectly safe once you've noticed that a clump or two have broken apart.
Well, thanks for explaining that. Now, where can people buy it?
So you can find on our website, which is sylitter.com. So SY short for Sustainably Yours, sylitter.com. You can find a store locator. And we're in about 2,000 or so neighborhood independent pet shops in every single state in the United States, as well as a large portion of Canada. And in larger store formats, you can find us at Petco, at PetSmart, and a few select places online. And last but not least, at Whole Foods. We're also there with the Multicat Plus variation that I mentioned, and more coming soon.
Wonderful. Well, Pedro, thank you so much for coming on Catitude and telling us all, educating us all on Sustainably Yours cat litter. I wish you much success. And, Jackson Galaxy is your spokesperson. I mean, you couldn't do better than the cat daddy.
I appreciate that. And we agree with you. Thank you so much for the opportunity, Michelle.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Well, everyone, I hope you really enjoyed this edition of Best Bets for Pets. It's always good when you can find out about a great cat litter that's going to be safe for your cats, gentle to the earth, and just all around great for the pet parent too, because Sustainably Yours eliminates odors. So please check it out. I'd like to thank my guest for coming on Best Bets for Pets. Thanks to everyone listening. I appreciate it so much. We have so many great products, and thanks for all your suggestions. And thanks to Jethro and Sammy, Molly, Dennis, and Charlotte, who all checked out Sustainably Yours and gave it a paws up. And of course, thank you so much to my producer, Mark Winter, for making me and my guests sound amazing. Now keep listening. You never know what we're going to have on Best Bets for Pets.
Let's Talk Pets every week on demand, only on PetLifeRadio.com.